Okay, as per the agenda, first order of business is a roll call. Pamela Boyd. David Rogers. Corinne Bell. Rosa Blackwell Lawrence,
Present.
Brian Dryer,
Present on Zoom.
Anitra Hadley,
Present.
Mary Kingsley,
Present.
Susan Lally, Eileen Lambert,
Present.
Dolores Lopez, Aaron McGarry, Ida Morris,
Present.
Kevin Morrison,
Present.
Haley Pilgrim is present, and Monica L. Whiting Hogan.
Whiting Hogan's present.
Whiting, sorry, my apologies. Next order of business is to talk about from one of the subgroups, policies and procedures, who will be starting us off there.
Oh, good. So we put together a draft document of policies and procedures for discussion, for our commission. The thing we've been talking about for some time now is establishing some like set rules and guidelines that we could adhere to as we are progressing through the last, meetings, our last meetings, and to set up the next commission for greater success around rules and policies to follow. A lot of the conversations that we've been having, just memorializing what we think should be in a document formalized to help guide meetings, guide decisions, guide practices, guide communications. So it's a 5-page document, but very like easy, read and bulleted in a way and bucketed in a way that I think is digestible. So I think we have time where I can just go over it for discussion. I don't think we have to vote on its adoption tonight. What I would like for everybody to do is really take it back, read through it, make any edits or adjustments. We can talk about anything you think we should include or exclude in this moment, but it's very surface general right now, but I just wanted to put it out in the atmosphere around what we think the guidelines should be for any charter commission or body that is conducting business. Okay. So first starting off with just authority and charter foundation. So the Mount Vernon Charter Review Commission, just a summary of like who we are pursuant to our city charter and municipal home rule law of the United States, of New York State. A charter amendment adopted in November 23rd, 2021, and just some legalese there. Membership, it's broken down from membership, solicitation and appointment, diversity, vacancy, meeting and duration, resources, and final report. So this first page is really just the foundation of how the charter is committee is formed. This is stuff that was put out there already, how we were all appointed into the role. Just a reminder of like how the commission comes to be as a starting to this document. Just the purpose, again, of our charter revision is added in here as well, just as a reminder in one spot. And then going into the membership, that broken down, the appointment and composition. Membership is determined in accordance with the charter provision described in section 0. The commission consists of 15 members, all of whom are residents of Mount Vernon. Equal rights and authority. Every member has equal voting rights and equal power in deliberations. No individual member, officer, or chairperson holds greater authority than another, except as specifically required by law. Expectations of service. Members are expected to act with fairness, impartiality, respect, and integrity. All actions must be guided by the best interests of the community. Conflicts of interest. Members must disclose any personal or professional conflicts that recuse themselves when appropriate in compliance with state and local ethics law. Compensation, members serve without any pay unless otherwise expressly authorized by the city council. Meetings, scheduling. Regular meetings will be held on a schedule established by the commission, such as monthly or biweekly. Special meetings may be called by the chair or by a majority of the members with reasonable notice. At least 72 hours notice is preferred, except in emergencies, and minutes of the meeting must be captured. Quorum. A quorum is defined as a majority of the total appointed members must be present for the commission to conduct official business. Public access. All meetings shall comply with the New York State open meeting law. Meetings are open to the public with time provided for public comment. Agendas, notices, and minutes must be made publicly available in a timely and accessible manner. Officers. Chair presides over meetings, ensures orderly proceedings, and serves as the spokespersons on topics reviewed by the commission. The chair helps set agenda, but does not decide which items are included or excluded. All members' proposals must be included and allowed to be discussed without bias. Vice chair acts in the absence of the chair. Secretary maintains records, distributes agendas, and records minutes. This role may be fulfilled by a member or assigned staff person. Facilitative roles only. Officers assist in administration and facilitation, but hold no greater decision-making authority than other members and must not act independently of the commission. Part 5, decision-making. Collective authority. No single member or officer may act unilaterally on behalf of the commission. Majority rule. Decisions are made by a majority of members present at a duly convened meeting, provided quorum is met. Deliberation first. Before voting, members are expected to engage in open discussion that allows for all perspectives to be heard. Minority views. Members who disagree with a decision may request their views to be formally recorded in the minutes or included in reports. Communication and publication. No reports, press releases, or official communication may be issued in the name of the commission without prior review by the full commission and approval by the majority vote. Procedures. Agenda setting. Any member may propose agenda items. All items proposed by members shall be included without bias or prejudice. The chair, in consultation with the vice chair and secretary, organizes and distributes the agenda in advance of each meeting. Officers facilitate but do not control content. Public input. Public comments are accepted in writing and in person. The commission may hold dedicated public hearings to gather broader community feedback. Deliberation. All proposals and issues are discussed openly at meetings. Members are encouraged to present research, raise concerns, and suggest alternatives. Recommendations. At the conclusion of its work, the commission prepares a comprehensive written report of recommended changes, including the reasoning behind each proposal. The report is submitted for consideration in accordance with the charter and state law, typically through referendum at the next general election. Code of conduct. Members shall treat one another, staff, and the public with courtesy and respect and not defame or attack fellow commission members publicly, anonymously, in public, or in sessions when opinions differ. Prioritize issues over personalities. Refrain from disruptive behavior or personal attacks. Maintain transparency and accountability, and uphold confidentiality. Records and transparency. Accurate recordings of meetings, votes, and reports must be maintained. Agendas, minutes, and final recommendations must be made publicly available. All records are subject to New York State Freedom of Information law, except where exempt. Amendments to procedures. These policies and procedures may be amended by majority vote of the full commission, provided that proposed changes are circulated at least one meeting in advance. Amendments must be made consistent with the charter and state law. So these are just general things that we have discussed, debated, asked for throughout our time as a commission. It gives us, like I said, a foundation to go back to whenever there is just this open discussion about how we proceed, what we do, when in doubt. This to me should be the guiding principle that we follow. That way, there's not a lot of discussion about the how, the when, the where, all of that, because it's written here and it just allows for us to conduct the meeting in a way that has us do the business that we're appointed to do. So again, rough draft, so please feel free to add, let's talk about it.
I think we should go right around.
And we can do a round table and we will open it up to our community members for input, okay? Just to keep time too, if we could try to keep discussion to like 2 minutes or so we're not here too long.
I think
That'd be great.
public comment at the end.
At the end, yes, we're gonna do round table and then public comment. Oh, yeah, at the end of the meeting? That's fine too. Yeah, that's fine. So I will start with, I'm gonna go Anisha, just to keep the.
Yes,
Hello?
so I want to thank the subcommittee who put together these policies and procedures, the proposed policies and procedures. I think that this would be helpful for any future commission as well as us as we finish out our work. I think that it helps give a very baseline way of operating, but it also kind of sets the bar high for how we should perform as a commission. So I do think that if we have an opportunity to vote on this just for our limited time together going forward until November, I think that would be great. But I definitely think that we should include this in a final report to be distributed to future charter commission. So thank you.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, I agree with everything. I mean, I agree with this document. It's long overdue, so I'm glad that we have it in place. This does help for things to run more efficiently. And I think it's really important that we, move forward with adopting this, even though, our term is going to be coming up in a few months, but we should have this in place.
I agree with the structure, so something that we can follow and move forward. So with changes, but the way it looks, I agree.
I have one question on 6.4, the second bullet. The report was submitted for consideration in accordance with charter and state law, typically through referendum at the next general election.
Mhm.
And I wonder, can we add or through, I don't know what would be the proper terminology, or to the city council for legislative action? I mean, there's some that would be legislative, non-ballot proposals, you know?
Maybe and or.
And or, right,
And or, yeah.
or to city, and or to city council.
Or, and or moved forward for legislative action,
Yeah.
perhaps? Sounds right?
I think that's a good add.
Otherwise, I'm thrilled with it.
Again, I really like this. I do have one question. I know we're not voting on this today, but I think we should.
We could actually, if you want to.
Yeah, I wonder why not, I think.
Good, actually.
Yeah, I think maybe we do. And then I'm just thinking we want to have minutes, but we don't have a secretary here. Does anybody want to be secretary for
I'm
today?
taking minutes.
Okay, thank you.
Teacher?
No, I thought this was a very good document with everything. I did just have a question, only because it was tossed around in debate so many times about, do we need to reference anything about Robert's rules, or are we governed by that? Do we need to say anything?
I don't think so. My thought behind putting this down was just some baseline structure. I think that could be something later, or we could, if I could think about a way to reference Robert rules. I don't want to be pigeonholed into Robert
Right.
rules too, because that's
Yeah.
another body and we're not required by it. There's levels and layers to that. I don't think we
We're not
necessarily.
required to follow Robert's rules, which can be very restricted, particularly in a small-ish group like we have. Certainly, we can pull ideas from that, incorporate it into our policies and procedures as we will, but to say that we'll follow Robert's rule or modify Robert's rules, I think is overly complicated and difficult.
Oh, no, I get it. I just know that there was a lot of questions back and
Yeah.
forth about it. So I don't know if it needs to be stated, as you said, that we can reference Robert's rule, but we're not governed by them. You know what I'm saying? So that way.
But you should have a clear set of rules, right?
Right.
Because there's a lot of, decisions, different things being made. And you want the board to come to some level of consensus on how to be taken. You want to establish before you start voting. I mean, something this simple, I think you do it across the
Mhm.
table. But if, you're not really doing.
So-
much.
But we don't have to say Robert's rules in our.
But you can do it, like you said, you can do a simplified rule, which is actually suggested based on the stuff that I've been reading, that Robert's rules is too cumbersome for a board like this, but you should establish how votes are gonna be taken, right?
Right.
A motion second, and it can be simplified,
We can add that.
but you should have something, and I thought I saw it in.
I've sent a few different
Right.
things, but we could add, let's see, where would it go? Under procedures, under deliberation?
Be deliberation.
We could add that, we will have a motion to vote and a second. Will be taken.
Or, I mean, are you voting tonight, or?
I would like us to vote. We don't have much time.
Yeah.
Do we need to, I guess, come back with the revisions, or can we vote on this with the revisions as discussed?
Has the document been shared with the full commission?
Yes, I shared it in our city email address. You should see it. It's been shared there.
I don't,
I don't
Okay.
recall seeing it. Sorry, Eileen.
Attach it to your email.
that was to the sub.
Maybe it didn't go all
That's
the way. I'll do it
Yeah.
right, Brian.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't realize it was just
Till next
We
week.
should wait till next.
Yeah,
Next
so I'm not sure we can vote till everyone's at least had a chance to look at it.
okay.
Put it out right now for you and see that it went. I'll try and see that it went.
That, and if you're gonna add some simplified.
We should come back.
I'll put it under deliberation, even its own section like voting, and I'll find some language around Robert's rules.
Okay.
Like,
We're being videoed and broadcast.
Voting Robert's rules.
May I have a copy of the document you're talking?
We don't have any.
I don't have,
They have, what they have
We don't have a copy of what you got.
of the rules.
Yes, no, we don't. I think you don't send it. This is the community, community reports. Thank you very much.
You
Thank you.
guys can share.
But we're gonna ask for that back because it's not.
Yes, okay.
so I will add some language around voting procedures and, you know, I'll get some baseline language there that helps with that. I'll add the language about, moving forward for legislative action. I want to think about the languaging that for there too. So that it's not just limited to what goes on the ballot, that it could be adopted by city leadership, you know, as they see appropriate too. So, okay, got it.
Share it with.
I have to do that
Because our
because my
next meeting
computer
is on-
failing on that on the phone.
Sam.
The first weekend, so our next meeting is in October, the first week, right? The first.
I'll do this tonight and have to share it out before the meeting so everybody has a chance. My ask is that if you have anything you'd like to add or consider, please give those details and send the final document ahead of the meeting so that we can vote seamlessly, so we don't have.
So that when we had the addition of the under the deliberation for the process.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Brian?
Yeah, just a quick question, guys. Thanks for pulling this together. The intro, it looks like it is kind of just a rehash of what's in the actual charter amendment.
Right. Correct.
Is that, and I guess this would be something that we approve or vote on as a commission, but then it would be given to the next commission for something to them to look at, right? It's not binding to the next commission, but really a starting point that then they would have to review and approve. Is that right?
They wouldn't necessarily have to review and approve. What it is a guiding
Right.
document for the next commission.
Right.
They will still have the ability to add to it.
Right,
to
right.
the
Okay.
Way as they see fit, but they need to have something to start with,
Right.
like when they're thinking about their meeting structure, when they're thinking about quorum, when they're thinking about like this code, like it's a foundation for them. So that
Mhm.
last section, if you see, I leave space for amendment, right? Like it's not hard line that it can't ever be
Right.
adjusted based off of what's, you know, going on and what that
Sure.
next commission might want. But there needs to be foundationally something, like where we got it, like wasted a lot of time was just setting it in the moment versus like getting
Yeah.
right to the business. We want the next commission to get right to the business
Right.
and adjust as they see fit, if they see fit.
Yep.
Right, as your guide.
Gotcha. Yeah. Thanks, Eileen. I just wanted to clarify the intent there. And I guess maybe it's a question for Brian there, but the first part where it just kind of rehashed what's in the charter. I don't know if that's best practice, because if something changes in the charter, then this thing's out of sync with what the charter is. Like, I don't know if we just reference that amendment and leave it at that, or if there's value in putting it in.
Well, I'm not sure I'm understanding the.
Under 0A, the charter amendment adopted on November 23rd, that could be changed and then this would be wrong. But I think that would easily be updated with current.
Yeah, that would be the thing updated if that changes come the next commission, right? I took this language from what exists
Right.
right now. If any of that changes, that's one of the things that
It
the
would
next
change.
commission would say right off the top. These aren't even the rules anymore, how the commission is set up, or the date has changed since update. So that's one of the things that would be amended if there is a change between then and.
And that was a ballot proposal.
Yeah.
That was approved, so it would be in place for the next one unless they recommended a change to that and put it forward to the ballot. So it
Right.
would be 2 years at least.
Yeah, it's tough to change. I got you. Yep.
And the charter is always gonna control anyway, even if we haven't updated it.
It would supersede, right? Okay.
We have a
Right.
statement
gotcha.
to that effect somewhere that
Okay.
it supersede any New York State law or other requirement or regulations, right? We have that in there.
Correct.
Great. Thanks. And then just the last one, sorry, I just gave a quick scan through, but so I might have missed some things, but at one point it mentioned something about a vote of the full commission was required.
Yeah.
Is the intent there that you mean like 100% of the people have to be here to vote, or does that
Majority, similar to like being able to conduct meeting.
Yeah.
typically you need a quorum, right? So, okay.
The
Yeah, it was
quorum.
just it was the word a vote of the full commission could be
Might be
misinterpreted
better
as
to
all.
take out full.
Wait, where do I have?
Policy procedures may be amended by a majority.
Where is that again?
of the-
No, where did you see that?
We're on number
Nine, the
9.
first sentence on.
Amendments,
Yeah, I think
procedures.
like I said, I apologize because I just scanned through it
You're
quick. I
right,
think it was at the
right.
end.
Oh, no,
Yeah.
I mean, it's a play on word. Majority vote of take out full?
The commission vote, I'll just take out the word full,
Got it.
because then it's not possible to misunderstand.
Got it. Got it.
Okay.
Anything else? Are you good?
That was it just for the quick review. Thanks. Appreciate it.
Okay. And you'll be able to send in, I'm sorry, we didn't get that sent to you. We Meant,
I just, I didn't realize it was a.
meant to, sorry.
Any question?
Very good job. We needed long video.
Mhm.
One of my questions has been partially answered. But for the next commission, with respect to procedures for minutes, acceptance of minutes, could we expand a little on that?
I can add that, some language, some rough language. Yeah.
Another thing,
Let me note.
Yeah.
But just keep in mind that you are not making rules for the next commission.
Mhm.
I mean, it's almost as like a courtesy Passover, but each commission will be.
I know, but.
But you're absolutely right. Minutes should be presented and approved at the beginning of each
Sure.
meeting.
Right, and it's not about making decisions. What I wanted to eliminate here is the unknown, like someone, we have a citizen who is stepping into this, like to take minutes to be in this role, giving them like, hey, here's what's required of this role. Part of the conversation was, I didn't know we had to take minutes. It's recorded. So there seemed to be a misunderstanding thinking the recording substitute having minutes. So I just wanted to make sure that the language is clear around what that looks like.
We might be able to pop.
So I can pop that in.
Procedures.
I think it should go under procedure.
And Brian,
No.
We might have,
that's a courtesy. There is a mistake.
Yeah.
No, it is.
under procedures, we might be, just one sec, we might be able to pop that in
Yeah.
before agenda setting or after agenda setting, maybe after agenda
Just
setting.
put minutes.
Minutes shall be kept and reviewed and approved at the beginning of each meeting.
Yeah, minutes, I had that reference somewhere else though.
Have it, but you have it under records and transparency. So it might be, yeah,
Maybe put in there.
but it's already, it's something
Data
there,
place.
but it's not saying that.
I think.
I mean, voting procedures, what makes us an up and down? Do we need a two-third majority?
No, simple.
You must state
It's
clearly what.
We did.
Right.
And
But I-
finally,
Can I piggyback off
Yeah,
that point
okay.
though? I do think that for the final vote of the acceptance of the ballot proposals, something that we had discussed is that ideally you should have more than half, right? You should have consensus generally amongst the charter commission to move forward with putting things on ballot. What I think, one of of course, the things that really hindered us this time and created a lot of angst and animosity was that we were split and there was no effort to bring the commission to consensus. And so I do think as a best practice, we can say even ideally, you would want to have more than just a
Two-thirds,
simple
right.
majority.
For ballots. for
Ideally,
ballot.
final product shall have the approval of a plurality of
Something, Brian.
Let me pull some language from Robert Rules. This is where we can deviate
Yes.
from like what's needed for meeting.
Yes.
Say, we need 2/3, like that's where we could actually pull specific language
Yeah,
that Robert Rules does provide
yes.
on
Good
what
point.
voting looks like.
And finally, rules of censure
Censure?
of members. Remember, we took an oath to the mayor. Confidentiality, bad behavior.
So we put that in there very general, where it got a little clouded is some of the stuff was veiled, like too, and like who said what, and like there was levels to the things that were being widely communicated. Some of that we won't be able to care for, but
Suppose the next commission, you have someone like who just keeps behaving silent.
The reason why I said I didn't recommend this
Yeah.
for me,
Mhm.
I'm not recommending that we spend a lot of time on this. Because you have no jurisdiction over what the next commission does.
That part.
Right? In order for something like that to occur,
Right.
then the charter would have to be changed to say that you need this and you need that. When the next commission comes, they will establish the next
Right.
rules on how they want to operate. I do agree that it's good that you give them a template and pass off
Right.
something responsible. That's something this commission could have always done, right?
Right.
We don't think we're right to make these proposals, but we suggest that the next commission review these things. That's something that could have always been done.
Right.
It should be done.
That's my 3 cents.
yeah.
Very good, Brian.
That's great.
So I'll make these edits for us to vote next month. This is foundationally you know, just.
Foundation,
They had one good point though, but I want you to say that again if you could.
About finances.
Oh, did I have that in there though?
That's what I thought I saw, but I think there should be
About finance.
that, okay, so we're asking that we have minutes that are provided, so at the same time, there should be financial reports. At least a budget for the finances, so a budget should be presented,
Because we do get. a
and we should
budget.
be able to know.
where the money went,
But right now, we're not, you're.
we don't have any money.
Yeah, right, so.
Right, but I'm saying, even if it's just passed down as a guide, if the next commission.
Records and
At
transparency.
least they can know, like, hey, this is one of the things that, was a challenge.
Under
that-
records and transparency,
Yes.
we could put, that there be a complete and total financial accounting to the commission of all monies spent.
Maybe under decision-making, financial something.
Yeah.
I mean,
Something like that.
Something to, that we're aware, what the budget is and what, just,
financial
and,
reporting.
right, the financial plan, accounting of where,
You're right, Taylor.
of expenditures, just so that way everyone is aware and who made the decisions,
We've said that we all have to make the.
No, it's adding the language similar to the other stuff,
Yeah.
financial reporting and budgeting. There should be formal reports that are presented to the full, the
Yeah.
commission.
It should be on the record.
Blah, blah, blah,
Everybody
so-
know.
But keeping it very general.
Yeah.
So, but I do agree, it should be something so that it's not assumed that finance is under there and then
Right.
decisions are made financially
That's right.
because we didn't specify it. So I think there is a space to just put that. And again, this is all just foundationally, in fairness to even the start of this, right? For even those of us that are not here, absence of process, people are stepping into leadership and creating it, right? Like, and what happened was there was just not alignment with what that should look like, and there was nothing to ground us on. So
So
then,
I think
now
that's
we-
where we start.
right,
And of course, we can all communicate in an email if there's something in particular that after some thought we think should be a little different, and you'll see that there are other folks that didn't get it.
right, okay. So, all right, that's my
Make sure
2 cents.
do vote, try to vote on this, the next
First thing next time, yeah.
I just I wanna provide, Michael,
Excuse us?
sorry. I just want to provide some clarity around what should be given to the public, because I don't want anyone, both parties have a concern, right? Public wants access to documents, you want the ability to have drafts that you're not
Right.
sharing, and so it's correct that if you're about to vote on something, then you have to share that with them. But you can't work on drafts that don't
Without.
need, right, that, internally. So I think there was a little confusion maybe perhaps, because I didn't even really understand what was being handed out. And so I just want to make sure that we're clear. You can do drafts, but when you're about to vote on something, it should be shared before the vote.
Okay,
So people can,
and we can do that, would we do that on the agenda place where we put the agenda up?
yes, that's what the council does. So what the council does is when they have something that's gonna be considered to be voted on, that item is uploaded for public consumption so they can see it, because obviously, a person can't have an opinion if they can't see it.
But here's where there's a gray area, not a gray area, here's where I actually want a little greater clarity and make sure it's not misunderstood in fairness to differing thoughts. Wait, guys, if we could just keep one conversation for 2 seconds. What to me this was right now is this full commission hadn't fully had a chance to even say, is this what we are presenting as like the thing to even
Right, so
vote
it's
on?
the
I
nature
think,
of the-
so I think in fairness too, as a operating body,
Thing too, I think it's right.
wait, guys, one
conversation going on.
Yeah.
guys, one conversation. So what this was is this full commission hadn't had a chance to
No, I get
even
it.
say, hey, what? So I don't want to, where we've actually having this stuff is putting stuff into the community too, that we haven't even fully yet said, oh, like how we just added these pieces. I want to give us space first to like catch a couple of things and then say, hey, this is what this commission has been able to weigh in on. Here's what we stamped as like what we want to put up as the document. Community here, any added discussion, but I do think as an operating body, we should be able to, and what are the rules around that? where we get to discuss.
Well, I think I said,
he's
it, and I think I said it, and I think you just
Okay,
reiterated.
sorry.
Perfectly.
Okay, perfect.
You do understand, but you just reiterated.
Okay.
You do have time, you do have time, where you're sharing drafts and things, you know, you have to provide, it's prior to a vote.
Vote, right, so
Right.
vote.
It's a final recommendation. It's even in here and there's no.
Right.
Okay, it's good.
A
That
final
sounds good.
Vote, they
Thanks for-
need to share it. and
With the
people have-
public right before that.
And thanks for that
and of
clarity.
course, if,
Yeah.
you know, we always want to be able to say that we're transparent.
Yeah.
And so give it the public the most notice possible before the meeting, so they can see it, so you can defend yourself against, you know, trying to not be transparent. Soon as you have something you know you're gonna vote for and it's, you know, you should share it when you put the agenda.
Well, thanks again for that, because again, we're on the other end, at the end of this, and so we haven't had this all
Well,
year.
that's fine.
So now, so you understand again, like, we're just trying to, you know,
Smooth.
That's
you
right.
know, to be some purpose, to have this commission have had a reason to exist and to be, you know,
No, I get
efficient
it.
and helpful.
And so that's why we wanted to reconcile
Yeah.
the
Right.
competing interests, and I think that we were able to do that.
Great.
Okay,
So speaking of, we have some policies and procedures which we'll get to, but I think what this reiterated is we need a chair since the chair stepped down. So would anyone like to come forward as chair?
No, but I would like to nominate you as chair.
who is you?
Okay.
I would
We
like
have a second.
Say your name.
I would not nominate Haley Pilgrim as chair.
Second.
I will accept. Should we call a vote?
Yes.
I think so.
So gotta
First, you gotta close the nomination.
close the nomination.
Any other nominations? Any other nominations? I hearing none. I move we vote.
All
Can we
right.
Do that? I don't even know. Yeah, okay.
All in favor, raise your hand.
I think everything one at a time.
I second, it was properly seconded.
Oh, we have to go
I
one
second,
at a time.
Yes.
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 Brian on the computer? Can Brian vote if he's not? Yeah, sorry.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Congratulations, kid.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. We have a new chair.
We've already made a small win. Let's make another win. Who would like to present from the policies we're proposing group?
So I will propose so these are proposals that so I'll just start off. When we first were discussing this, we always talked about there could be two paths to go. One would be to make proposals that required a referendum. So those were things that would have had to been voted on, and that's what was actually moved forward. That was the appointed comptroller and the city manager. Both of those did not pass. But we did say we had other items that were proposed by subcommittees that could be put forth through legislative action. They did not require a referendum. They could be recommendations made to the city council. The city council could choose to accept them or not to accept them. So that's one of the reasons, the main reason we came back together as a charter commission to try to complete the work that we did, because we had already made such progress in coming up with those potential recommendations that could be put forth through the city council. So when we came back together, we formed a subcommittee. That subcommittee included Rosa Blackwell Lawrence, myself, Anitra Hadley, Mary Kingsley, Eileen Lambert, Gita Morris, Kevin Morrison, and Haley Pilgrim. That's 7 subcommittee members, so that does not require that's not formed. So that's why we were able to meet as a subcommittee. From the last couple of weeks or week or so, the subcommittee had 2 meetings. One was with the Mayor Patterson Howard. And then the second one was with Mayor Patterson Howard and her commissioners and deputy commissioners of planning, buildings, and DPW. We also we had the commissioner of the Board of Water Supply as well. And the mayor's deputy chief of staff also attended the meeting. And in that meeting, we discussed mainly the Green Team recommendations, and that Green Team report and recommendations was included in the adopted final report, which was not adopted, that was distributed to the public in July. And In that report, we went through each of the recommendations, the high, medium, and low recommendations, and discussed each with the mayor and her team. And the following items are ones that we agreed should be put forward in some form prior to this commission being disbanded by law in November, which would be the first, the election in November, which I believe is like the beginning of November. One of the items that we wanted to put forward is to create a formal review process to allow for the planning department to advise on new developments in the city as it relates to rezoning and land use and weigh in on whether developments are in line with the comprehensive plan. That will be drafted and proposed in some form. So the process will be, these items will be drafted by the mayor and her team. The commission will have an opportunity to weigh in and potentially offer changes on the ones that are brought back to the commission, and then make the decision of whether we also will recommend to the city council that these be put forward. The second item that will be recommended, we talked about assigning key staff members from planning and community development and buildings department to the capital projects board. And supposed to be present at the planning board and the zoning board meetings. So the way this will be adopted is that they will increase the capital projects board from a 5-member board to a 7-member board. And that will include voting roles for some of the officials within the city, the commissioners of planning, DPW, and potentially buildings. The city engineer will become an ex officio member. And again, none of this is in writing. These are all draft. And these are things that could potentially change, but I'm just presenting it here based on our subcommittee meeting. We did not recommend the third one, which was to revise the charter to have a police department attend the buildings code, attend with building code enforcers with eviction. We are not going to recommend that. Including minimum job qualifications for each commissioner role and updating the job descriptions accordingly. We sort of came out with this, that in the charter, we're not going to get into this level of detail, you know, this person must have this degree or that, but what they're going to do is we're going to put in a high level or recommend a high level charter amendment that would include that these job descriptions need to be updated and reviewed on a regular basis, and that they need to be kept in line with what best practices are. So that will be something that we recommend for the charter, and it will, you know, provide times when that should be done. Relatedly, there will be a similar charter amendment that's related to policies and procedures, which will say that city departments need to establish, if they do not already have established, policies and procedures. And these policies and procedures need to be reviewed and updated on a regular basis. And again, we think that's something that will help the city, and the city agreed, to continue to move forward and make sure that we're operating under best practices. One thing that the city already did that was recommended, they've already put it forth and had the charter amended, was to specify in the charter that the building code be updated within 6 months of the New York State code updates. So that's been done. Number 6 was update the charter to reestablish a parking authority. We recommend that we update the charter to include this, but that we make it pending approval from New York State, because we are still waiting for New York State to approve us having a parking authority. And so it would be an effective date of 1/1/27, or, you know, when it's approved by New York State. Number 7, which is to kind of reconstruct some of the parking job requirements under a different commissioner other than the planning commissioner where they are now. That's contingent on the parking authority, so that will be recommended based on the other change above. One thing that has been done is specifying within the charter that the fire code be updated to align with the New York State requirements on public assembly. The mayor and her team have already recommended this and had the charter amended accordingly. Another recommendation that we made was to codify what they're calling the Bricks and Mortar Committee, which is a working group within the city that includes the Department of Planning Commissioner, DPW, Building, Water Department, and Assessor's Office, and they come together on a regular basis. I believe it's monthly. And this is just something that they started doing under this administration, but it came up in our original meetings that this was very helpful in sort of coordinating interagency working and working collaboration. So what the mayor looked at this with her team, and she said that not only do they want to codify this working group, there are other working groups, interagency, intergovernmental working groups in that help have the same purpose of helping the government function more effectively across departments. And she wants to codify those as well. So that'll be something that we look to do. Removing the language, this is a small one, but it's still relevant. Removing the language that allows the city council to determine street repaving materials, something that council really has no reason to do or expertise to do. They just wanted that deleted from the charter, and that is underway. Allowing the fire commissioner to hire civilian employees, that was not necessary, so that will not be moved forward. Codifying the chief of staff and deputy chief of staff positions, was something that we recommended and discussed this with the mayor and her team, and came to, that we would, I believe, recommend codifying the chief of staff position at a minimum. Consider the deputy chief of staff as well, but maybe not recommend that be codified in the charter. And then we would put the related job qualifications for the chief of staff in with the other civilian, the document that it contains the civilian job requirements. And that is as far as we got with the mayor and her team during our subcommittee meetings. There will be more to come on this because we are continuing to work with them to make sure that we can propose as much as we can to make the city run more efficiently for residents and for the folks who work here prior to our dissolvement in November. So we will have more.
And one other small thing, which wasn't out of your committee, but was the elimination of the recreation board, which is in the charter and it's not in use and it's not being done. So that should just come out.
Thank you for that, Anitra, Mary. Should we do another round robin, just go around and say our initial?
Yeah.
Yeah. Rosa, you want to start?
Great. Well, I worked on a subcommittee, so I don't have anything additional to add.
Just very happy to have cooperative working on this document.
So my question is there another meeting planned? If so, is it before our meeting next Wednesday? I guess I'm pretty keen to see like how fast can we move? What is your estimate on the timeline?
So there is another meeting planned. The meeting that's planned is just basically with planning. So that will be Kevin, because Kevin has the background in planning. So out of this subcommittee meeting that we had, kind of felt like we wanted to talk a little bit more in depth with the planning department. So Kevin will be meeting with the commissioner and deputy commissioner, both deputy commissioners of planning next Monday. I'm going to try to join that. I don't know if anyone else, but I'm basically just observing, taking notes, possibly asking a couple of questions, but just to really make sure that we cover as much as we can to make the recommendations. So that's also happening. The mayor came up with some timelines for each of these things. I know she was looking to push them forward, possibly piecemeal, because, just to keep it moving as quickly as possible. So I know early October, mid-October, those were mentioned as deadlines for each of these things. So we can follow up, because we did ask to possibly see drafts of these ordinances prior to them being presented to the city council, and they were very amenable to that. So we can follow up, but it's going to be down to the wire because these things do take time. It requires legal review and resources. So it's going to be, I think, down to the wire, but hopefully in October.
Okay.
But maybe not by the next meeting, but we'll see if we can maybe get a couple of these drafted up and presented for our next meeting so that we'll have those.
Thank you.
No, thank you all for working on this. This is a very good document. I just for my own edification, with number 10, remove the language that allows the city, I know that's underway. What's replacing it, or is there anything that's replacing it, or?
Be like determined by DPW.
Okay, I just wanted to confirm that was gonna be. Okay, that is it. Thank you.
Mine is just something, just being on a subcommittee, I'm just glad we were able to come with some great recommendations, in spite of all the stuff. we did a lot of research and amazing work was put into like thinking about some things that our city needed. Like, so I'm glad that we are proposing things that can, even though the ballot stuff didn't happen because there was just, part of that was about like the how. I love that we are putting something together from the money we spent, from the time we spent, that we're putting something together that our leaders can use to like,
Guys, could you?
put our city forward. So it's a foundation like we're leaving a legacy.
Can't you oversell?
I just would like you guys not to talk while someone else is talking. It's a basic,
Trying to whisper, I apologize.
yeah, but it kind of.
Kevin, do you have anything?
No, I mean, well, as Anitra said, we meet on Monday. I'll be going through the chart to make sure I don't miss anything. And I try as much as I can to be as least of a bother to Commissioner Rouse as possible.
I mean, the commissioners have really been great. They have been
Super
fantastic.
great. They've been super great.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Let Brian, if he has anything.
Yeah, Brian?
Yeah, thanks, guys, for the work on this. Yeah, I guess just a question, and maybe it goes to Brian, because it's been a while since we talked about it. Obviously, the focus was on the ballot proposals. Can you remind me what the distinction was that makes something that can go to the council for approval and just a change to the charter versus something that has to go to the vote? And then kind of the follow-up, it sounds like some of these have already happened. So from a commission perspective, what is our process? Like, is this something we review, approve, vote on, then it goes? Or it sounds like the mayor and others may have already taken some recommendations and actioned them. So I'm not clear on what that process is either.
Right, so I'll be glad to share with you what needs to be a mandatory referendum, permissive referendum, and things of that nature, where there could be a charter change without there being a referendum, right? But just think of the large things like if you're for a mandatory referendum, if you are changing the structure of the government, if you are changing the powers between the mayor and the city council, very high level things, the thought is that the entire city should have some input in that. There's things like salary increases, which have come up where you can do it, but then there's this whole idea that the public, if they want to object to it, there's a permissive referendum process that they could do in order to deal with that. So I can send you just some quick and dirty items, so you could fully understand. But and we'll test everything to make sure that they require referendums. I'm sure that's already been done, but we'll confirm it.
Okay, thanks. And then, I mean, one that jumped out, again, I don't have the background on, but creating a parking commission, I think, which one was that? Parking Authority, number 6. It seems like that's something that would have some, probably not insignificant budget impact to create a new department and new roles and staffing. Is that something, excuse me, sorry, I'm fighting a cold. Is that something that would require further reviews and approvals or community input or anything?
Well, first we have to go to the state. We need a home law. So it is, the idea is actually to increase the revenue. And not for it to be an expenditure, right? And so, yeah, there's a whole process that we have to go through in order to make that happen.
I recommend we follow the Bronxville model. You can't go in there without getting a ticket, so. we could-
Bronxville, don't get me started on
Uh,
White flag,
All of them.
Here,
We're 30 seconds late.
And I guess just kind of the last point that was part of my first question. So as a commission, what are the next steps on these? What do we need to do is this something that goes forward as a formal, we voted and approved on these recommendations to go to city council, or how does that, that's an open question. I'm not sure if it's you, Brian, but I'm not sure how we handle that as a commission.
Oh, yeah, if you want to speak as a commission, absolutely, that's the process, you're gonna put together some rules. As we established early in the meeting, they don't have to be overly complicated at this point. It seems like there's been a lot of work being done and the consensus being built around at least some of the things you want to consider, but put a formal process in place on how the votes will be taken and what will be forwarded to the council as a recommendation, absolutely.
Awesome. Does anyone else have other thoughts on this before we move to our next agenda item, which is public comment? Nope.
Thank you for the.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's new business public comment, 3 minutes per person. Public comment.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I think what's being proposed in terms of procedures is very reasonable. Give some structure and what we said about moving letters to that. So I think that's excellent. Brian was discussing earlier about the protocol for drafts versus items for votes. I wasn't clear. I apologize to Irene. I wasn't clear as to whether or not what was putting on the table today was going to be voted on. But obviously, you want to discuss it among yourselves, then it's a draft, and that's fine. And I appreciate informally sharing it with me so I can take a look at it. It looks very reasonable. The one thing that may not have been in the procedures is the committee structure. I don't know if you want to be so formal as to determine what committees might be formed, or just give the chair the authority to form committees as needed. Now, again, as Brian said, this will only be with this commission. It may not survive subsequent commissions, but I think the committees, including the Green Team, did a lot of work, and I think the committee structure can be very, very helpful. So that's just something I want to throw out.
Good point.
Just for information, the city at one time did have a parking authority. And it was set up, and I thought it was working very, very well. And then for some reason, they disbanded it, and for some ungodly reason, put it in the planning department, which really has no expertise in parking. And if you spoke to Commissioner Rouse, and he agreed. And I'm not sure that you're reporting that, but so I think the authority is a good idea. And as Brian said, there are several models, obviously, like land. Many come to mind. But it's going to be a long haul before it's actually implemented.
Well, hopefully not too much.
Yeah,
If the whole idea is to capture revenue, right?
yeah, that's the whole idea. So I think these are all good suggestions. I have no problem with what's being recommended by the Green Team. I mean, a lot of it is, some of it's informally being done now. For example, the planning department does now sit with the planning board and the ZBA. But the structure, I think, has to be much more stringent. Because obviously with the adoption of the comprehensive plan, you want to make sure that what's ever coming before the city council or the boards is in accordance with that plan. So I think it makes sense. And having formal requirements for at least the commissioner of planning with AICP designation is very, very important, and minimum qualifications. So again, I think these are all great. The question I have is, why weren't these put forward, I guess by the commission, as an adjunct to the charter changes that became very controversial? Is there any reason
Yeah.
that it wasn't?
So because it didn't require a referendum, I think the idea was that always, when we discussed, is that we would work on the ballot proposals first, because those require, you have to make a certain deadline, have it to the city clerk by the August date. In a certain way, you have to be able to propose it, you have to do all the translations, you have to do all of those things. So I think that was the priority, was to work on those things that required ballot proposals and votes. And then to go back and go through all of this. And there are other recommendations here as well. It's just a matter of time and like going through it, because the majority of us served on the Green Team. We were very familiar with what those recommendations were, so we were able to move forward quickly. But I believe the mayor and her team are looking at all of them, right, that were recommended, and seeing what they could potentially put into place that would be helpful, because all of these recommendations were, with the exception of the appointed comptroller and the city manager, were recommendations that came from the commissioners and came from conversations with the commissioners. So these were things that they thought would be helpful. And so, so that's why we went through the Green Team, because we were most familiar with it, because 6 of us, I believe, were on that committee already. Yeah, so it's just a matter of timeline, because there was no deadline other than the.
Yeah, once the proposal,
Obviously. Right, there's really no deadline for this, per se, other than getting it to the council.
Right.
Council may want to
Right.
rely on it for 3 months, or decide not to pursue it, that's their choice, but your charge is to basically get it to them.
Right,
Right.
right.
I just had one other question on the convocation of the chief of staff and the deputy chief of staff. Will there be any minimum qualifications for those positions?
That's exactly what we were recommending. So not only, like you said, with the planner, but that there should be minimum qualifications for every exempt position. And so while that won't go into the charter, because that could change, what's relevant, what's necessary may change, it would be, and this was the mayor's and her team, this was their own recommendation, right? Is that it would be put into the civil service document that like kind of garners what these, what the roles are, what the qualifications are for these exempt positions for the commissioners and the deputy and the chief of staff. So it would be there and it would be regularly reviewed and updated. But we just wouldn't put that into the charter because it's too operational.
This would apply to any new hires. Obviously, any one of these positions now will be grandfathered, but looking forward, we want to specialize the department head. That will keep the different qualifications.
Yes. And I think also what the mayor mentioned was because Eileen Lambert has a background in human resources, that she would also, like, even though this is not a charter specific change, that she would work with her human resources person to kind of also weigh in from a charter perspective on some of those things may be, because this is what we had originally proposed as well. We're just, Madam Mayor joined us, but we're just going over what we've went over in our meetings and kind of where we are with those recommendations. So we're at the point of the meeting, public comment, and Vince was just asking a couple of questions.
Thank you. Any other public comment?
Yeah, I'll just say that I think everything that's been presented seems reasonable and appropriate. So the way you guys have formalized that, that's good. I was also advisory member on the green team, so familiar with all of the recommendations that came forward, and they are good recommendations, and familiar with the parking authority issue. And speaking about revenue, the city now at the zoning board level, when there are parking variances given, we are making sure that the city already has fees schedules for off-street parking that's not supplied. So we will have developers coming to the city with that money to continue their process. And there has been the concern as to where does that money go? So it really falls into place and puts it someplace where now the parking lot's being maintained and, it would go towards public parking in that fashion. So I think that's a great suggestion.
Thank you. And yes, Mike, you were very helpful in coming up with these recommendations, so thank you.
Is any more comment?
Yeah, any other comment?
Did you have any comment? The name, so we want to say all that?
Great. I think we had a meeting.
It's good to see everybody not shouting.
We think so too. What it does, right?
Yeah.
You're a ball.
So I just want to say thank you. A lot of work has been done over these, I don't, less than 18 months, but it's been over a year, let's say 15, 16 months. A lot of work has been done, a lot of time has been spent. And I know there were certain proposals that did not go forward, but that did not mean that the work had not been valuable. And so I want to thank you all for choosing to continue to drill down into the recommendations that's been made of the green team. And I know there's some recommendations of the blue team and other things that can be called out. We update the charter through ordinances all the time. And so a lot of the recommendations come out of your direct conversation with city staff, saying that these are things we're doing or we want to do, but we feel they need to be codified. And we took a pause in certain things. And so I'm just really, really happy that y'all are moving forward. We are looking forward to continuing to drill down on these with you and present them for legislation in the October and the November meetings for them to go forward and be codified into the charter of the city. So your work is not in vain. Nothing, nothing all goes forward always the way we wanted it, but we wanted you to also know that it was not a waste of time. So thank you so much. And I look forward to what continues to come out. And, there are always things that can make the city run more efficiently. And we know the charter not being updated in almost forever. There are a lot of challenges in it and a lot of things that need to be codified. And so we are very, very much supportive of that because we want things to live beyond, whoever is in office, right? Things should not just stop. And that's been one of the big challenges that we've had in Mount Vernon is that we start. We're supposed to be I always say, a relay team, but the baton doesn't get passed, right? And so we want to continue to build. And just as some of you were on the last Charter Review Commission, that allowed it to build for this Charter Review Commission. And then the next Charter Review Commission will continue to build. I know because of some of where our city has been, there's been a certain anxiety and desire to almost get it all done, right? Because we're never going to have a chance to do it again, right? Things don't happen for 60 years. But with it being codified with the last Charter Review Commission saying comprehensive plans will take place every so year, Charter Review Commission will take place every such and such number of years, that there is that expectation, right? And that standard has to continue to be carried out. And so with the things that you're putting in around job descriptions, because trust me, when I came in, I looked at some job descriptions and they're talking about knowing how to type and to take dictation and to use a processor, a word processor. Some job descriptions had not been updated since 1974. And so being able to do those things, and there's an expectation that those happen, having building codes and fire codes codified, right? We missed 30 years of building code and fire code enforcement updates. The state code changed 19 times, 20 years without the inspections being done the way they were supposed to be done. And then when you start to do things that our law says we're supposed to do, then everyone thinks you're coming after them and it's personal, right? So when these things are in there, and there's always going to be a crisis, there's always going to be an emergency. But when you also know that something is written into our code, you're going to find the time to do it, right? So we know in January, more updates are coming to the state building code. More updates are coming to the state fire code. And so we've already codified, because we didn't wait for the commission, something we didn't have to do in real time. So we've already put that in, and that was one of the recommendations you gave, but it's also something we had already done. And so now we're doing the same thing for the fire codes and making sure that once new fire codes come, that fire codes will be updated within 6 months. Those things will also take training. Right? Because the other thing that we have failed to do in the city for decades is train our staff. Right? So you have staff operating on old things and old understandings and when you don't invest, if you don't invest in your human infrastructure, then we're not operating in real ways. So thank you. Thank you. Look forward to your continued work, and we will continue to move the pieces forward with the referral letters. It will not go in as one, but they will go in over time because we're at the end of the year, budget season's coming up. So we have to do the comprehensive plan, all of those things are coming up. So we want to make sure that everything gets across. And then I guess you'll put together like a final report that will pull it all together that shows these are the recommendations that are able to move forward and be adopted and codified into the charter. So thank you.
Thank you. Brian had a question. Yeah.
Yeah, not a question, but just a final comment. I laughed. Someone in the room said it, but nice to see some civil discourse and in the group. But I appreciate all that, and kind of in that spirit, I think, as I said in my email, I don't know if you guys saw, but I think there is some confusion about what happened after the vote, and Tamala's note that we're kind of done, and I think we're a little bit disjointed, and obviously I think by the representation on the call today, I think that's still a challenge. So I'll certainly reach out to some other folks and make sure they know that there's stuff going on. And just as we talked about today, to make sure we send out those documents and the green team proposals again, so people know what we're working on. I think that'll be important just in the spirit of collaboration and transparency as we close this thing out. Thanks.
Thank you. I did have one question for the mayor. So what came up before you came into the room was process and like how we plan to go. So we did say the same thing, that it's not going to be all together. It's going to be a bit piecemeal because we are kind of racing towards a deadline, both internally as a charter commission and then also for the city being and but we did hope, because you know our subcommittee is just small and representative of the commission, but not the full commission, that we would be able to bring some of the drafts to this commission prior to. So we have, I think our next meeting is October 1st on Wednesday. So anything we could get, if you all are moving it, moving some of these things forward, anything, I know some of the deadlines were early October, but if you have anything for us that we could.
I think the only thing that is going on to the September meeting is the commissioner already wrote the referral for number 5. Which was number 5. It had to do with city council picking what kind of asphalt.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Number 10.
No,
Maybe they.
Number 10. That's very, very simple. And
Right, that we don't need.
we're just looking to remove that.
Okay.
And then there are other small things that as we were going through the charter, boards that committees that have not been in evidence in 30 years that are kind of duplicative, you know, just looking to remove those, but we will send and share that with you. And those won't go on until the first meeting or the second meeting in October. So we will share with you, and, you know, there are some of these recommendations that we've asked you by virtue of your expertise, your individual expertise, to drill down further with our departments, like number 1 is the planning process. And with the updates and 5 years, because I didn't see it here, but the conversation that I was having is I wanted to codify it where we say for commissioner or executive or appointed positions, that those job descriptions would be updated or reviewed every 5 years, according to civil service, because there are minimum requirements and job duties in the civil service job descriptions. And that's what we use to advertise, and that's what we use to hire. So all of that may not be in the charter, because we said that the charter was long and unwieldy and much more detailed than they'd seen in other cities. And so just by, again, attaching that back to the civil service. So the city, through the civil service and HR department will, revisit, update, and revise job descriptions and minimum qualifications every 5 years or more often as industry standards may change, right? Because no one was talking about cybersecurity a few years ago. We weren't talking about flood mitigation a few years ago. So sometimes things might change within a 5-year period, but at least every 5 years.
And then just one more quick one related to that. That was number 4, where we talked about that. So we said we're going to drill down and put on the actual requirements for the job descriptions in the charter, but that we would put in a process where you're required to update it every 5 years or where, as necessary
Right.
often. And then related to that was what came up on the call about the policies and procedures, and having a similar item in the charter that says policies and procedures, if not established, shall be established for each department and updated and reviewed every 5 years, or as more often as necessary.
Yes.
Just 1 or 2 brief questions. I'm assuming that when these recommendations go to the council, it doesn't guarantee that they would be passed. The council has the right to make that decision. Is that correct?
Right.
Yeah. Right. And then where the other question was when you spoke about having the chief of staff be part of the civil service. Is that change? Is it a union position then? Is it changed as a time?
Said exhibit.
I don't know, you know, so you refer,
Chief of staff is, it's like.
oh, so it would still be exempt.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, exam.
But all of our positions still have to go through civil service. I mean, we're not civil service employees, meaning that we go through a list, but every job description has to be approved by civil service. Every job description. Every job description has to be adopted and approved by civil service. And then it
Whether
goes
it's
to
exempt.
council for adoption, yes.
And they want, technically, they make the determination whether or not it's based on the duties.
Get a responsibility, so.
Well, I think that's a great note for us to end on. Is there a meeting to adjourn? I mean, a motion?
I'll move to adjourn.
Second.
All right, all in favor? Great meeting, Tim.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Brian.
Thank